Okay, call the monthly board meeting to order. We're going to start a little different today. We'll do our tax rate hearing. 2022, 2023 tax rate ceiling increase hearing. Mr. Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, it's that time of year again when we set the tax rate for the upcoming tax year. And tonight we have something a little different tonight. We're going to actually have a hearing for our tax rate ceiling increase. So if you wouldn't mind advancing, I got the clicker right here. All right, so as just a quick reminder here, our current board approved, or our current voter approved levy is $2.95 per $100 of assessed valuation. Jumping on the next slide here, kind of a history, kind of a backlog since 2020. So in 2020, our levy was $2.95, and we actually had the opportunity at that point to set the levy at $2.9949 due to the way that the Hancock Amendment works and assessed valuation. So in 2020, we actually took a voluntary rollback because we wanted to keep the levy at the $2.95 rate that the voters approved in 2017. So in 2020, we did a voluntary rollback to roll the levy back from $2.9949 to $2.95. In 2021, due to the huge real estate boom that happened at that point, we actually our assessed valuation grew at a rate that our revenues from taxes were going to go above the threshold. So the Hancock Amendment kicked in, which was put in place back in 1982, and that forced us to bump our levy down to $2.88 to allow the tax revenues to be below that level threshold that was required. So in 2021, we actually took a voluntary rollback of 7 cents. In 2022, so for the current year, we've had minimal growth from 2021, and our 2020 rollback is still in effect. So the way this is all played out, with everything as it is currently, if we did nothing, we would only be able to run the levy at $2.8801. And so by doing this, there's going to be an action item later on that we'll be able to adopt a resolution to undo the rollback from 2020, which would actually allow us to run the levy at 2.924. So, which is still, just a quick reminder, that's still 2.6 cents less than the $2.95 voter approved levy that's out there. So I would be glad to take any questions on that. And as I said, we will have an action item later to adopt the resolution to do that if there's no questions. So,
Comments or questions? Okay. 2022, 2023 tax rate hearing. Mr. Harrison.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. So the second piece of this tonight, as I said, we'll have an action item later on the agenda as well to do our normal adoption of the tax rate levy for the 2023 tax year. So just kind of go through some quick numbers here to kind of show you the assessed valuation. The way that the tax levy works is it's all revenue based on $2.95, $2 and whatever the levy is per $100 of assessed valuation. So if looking at the assessed valuation here last year, you can kind of see the real estate was about $291.6 million. Personal property was about $58.9 million for a total of about $350.6 million. For FY22 for this year, our real estate has went up to about $297.8 million. Personal property has went up pretty drastically to about $73.8 million for a total of around $371.7 million. And so on the real estate side, for the revenues for the current year, they subtract out current new construction. So for this year, we've had a little over $5 million of new construction. So out of that $6.2 million, we're only actually allowed to bring revenue on about $1 million of that. So, and the same on the personal property. For new personal property coming on, they aren't taxed on it until the following year, so we don't collect revenue on it till the following year. So it shows about a $21.1 million growth in assessed valuation from last year to this year. But in all reality, as far as a taxable revenue standpoint, it's only about $1 million in additional amount from last year. And this kind of shows the breakdown of our tax levy here. The only levy we have is in our general fund, and so the recommendation tonight is going to be to set this at 2.924, which we estimate is going to generate around $10.8 million of revenue for the upcoming school year. Just another thing to point out here, typically, like if you look at the majority of schools across the state of Missouri, they're going to have something in either or the debt service or the capital projects funds there. And one unique thing about the Waynesville district is with our B2 funding that we receive, we're able to pay for most of our capital projects through that B2 funding, which puts us in a unique situation where we don't have to go out to the taxpayers and ask for additional funding in the capital projects or the debt service fund. So that's one thing very unique to Waynesville, that we can run our levy at a 2.924 for this year, 295, whatever the levy is each year. We're able to do that and not go back out to the taxpayers with bond issues and things like that for additional funding for capital projects. And another thing we like to point out is out of all the school districts in the state of Missouri, when you look at that general tax revenue, there's 80% of the districts in the state of Missouri that have a higher tax rate than we do. So I really think that's a great thing that here in Waynesville we're able to have a low tax levy, but still be able to offer these great facilities and things that we have, especially whenever 80% of the districts in Missouri have a higher tax levy than we do. Kind of breaking down from a revenue standpoint real quick, I like to show this slide because it does a real good job of painting the picture of the unique scenario that we are actually in. So if you look at the Missouri and the United States slides, the little graphs there, you can kind of see the big difference there. So Missouri is about 33% state funded and about 59% local funded. And then if you look at the United States, it's very similar. But then you look at Waynesville, and we're only funded about 23% from the local standpoint. So if you look at an average all the way across Missouri, all schools averaged out are funded approximately about 59% from a local tax standpoint. And because of the large amount of federal property that we have in our district, we are only able to collect around 23% on average of what the normal districts across the state of Missouri do. So that's why you see the big jump in federal on the Waynesville side, because that lack of that in lieu of taxation amount is funded through the B2 program. So I just kind of wanted to point that out tonight. A quick impact aid timeline of where we stand. We report on this each time, but part of the eligibility process to maintain those B2 funds that we receive. And whenever, one thing I want to point out is the B2 funding that we do receive is heavily impacted. There's a lot of school districts that receive basic aid from a federal impact aid standpoint. There's hundreds of districts out there that receive that. But whenever you get down to the B2 heavily impacted, there's only about 20 school districts in the entire nation that are as federally impacted as we are that receive that B2 funding. So it's a very crucial source of funding for us to maintain the things that we have here. So kind of looking at the timeline here, that current status column there, that kind of shows with everything as it is right now, as we know it. For the FY22 school year that we just got through, we were B2 eligibility. We were back in a full B2 eligibility. So worst case scenario, if we were to fall out, we would go into a 5-year hold harmless phase, and then FY28 would be a full loss of B2 at that point. So, that tax levy eligibility piece there, that's the one that we struggle with the most, trying to maintain the eligibility piece at that low tax rate. So kind of looking at some alternative scenarios there. We do have the option to use some additional factors in doing that eligibility, but it's a very unique cohort at that point. There would only be about 3 other school districts in the entire nation that go to that level. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to maintain eligibility for maybe another couple years using those special factors. But really, when you get down to that FY25 time frame, we get really on that really thin margin of likely falling out of B2. And, at that point, if we don't do something with the tax levy, soon we're looking at losing B2 for good. So just kind of want to point that out, word of caution there, that we're kind of running on a razor thin margin there from a B2 eligibility standpoint. And there's kind of the implications of losing B2. So how many dollars are attached to that? We receive approximately $8 to $10 million per year of B2 funding, and all of that, we take every penny of that and we roll it into our capital projects fund, and that's how we're able to build our new schools and maintain our facilities and things of that nature with the funding that we do have. And then for any major construction projects, we would be forced to resort to the more traditional method of asking local taxpayers to fund it. So, if you look at most schools, whenever it comes time to build a new school or some kind of major upgrade, they're going to their taxpayers and they're trying to pass a bond issue to fund that specific project. So, you know, if we were to lose B2, we would likely have to resort to that, you know, that more traditional method of funding. And then our annual capital improvement and maintenance budget would be drastically reduced. So we're currently on a 10-year long-range plan with the funding that we have, and we have things kind of ear-notched projects to set aside that we want to take care of in a 10-year time frame. And losing B2 would put us in kind of in a tailspin to where we're really looking at more like a 20-year long-range plan of trying to knock some of these things out. So pretty drastic if we were to lose that B2 funding. So with that in mind, is there any questions? We're looking at setting the tax levy at 2.924. There'll be an action item later on to put that in place.
Any comments or questions? Thank you, Mr. Harrison. You please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To coordinate program requests with unit POCs. Units expand resources non-monetary for schools by assessing additional support from other PI sponsorships units on Fort Leonard Wood. School liaison officer manages and
Being bus route assignments when the evening of August 17th, Wednesday, August 17th. The first day of school this year will be Monday, August 22nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. This month, the district would like to recognize Still Usable Ministries as our
chapter. Brendan Willard could not be here tonight. We were all traveling last week in D.C. and he had a packed calendar and couldn't get here. But, you know, it's my honor to be here tonight and talk a little bit about our community partners and specifically Waynesville R6 partnership. This year is your 40th anniversary as a community partner with the Association of the United States Army. The Association of the United States Army is the Army's professional organization. We provide a voice for the Army and support for soldiers and their families. And we can't do that. We can't be a voice for the Army without community supporters and community partners like Waynesville R6 School District. And I'll tell you, you'll notice that Fort Leonard Wood Mid-Missouri chapter has been named best chapter in 2021. And there's a reason for it. It's community partners like Waynesville R6 School District. Now, I just want to highlight a few things of how important you guys doing what you do every day, and really to the teachers out there slugging it away in the trenches day in and day out. I think it's appropriate. Today was the convocation day, and you're welcoming new folks into the district, and I get a little fired up about what you guys do and the impact that you make on the future of the next generation. And to the Board of Education, I want to say thanks too. You guys might think what you do doesn't necessarily get noticed as much as it should, but I'll tell you, if you think back, I bet each one of us can remember all of our teachers and those touch points and those action points and decision points where they helped you along the way and they got you to see something that was a life changer. And your support to the Association of the United States Army is just absolutely incredible and so important, not just in a community like this, but across the nation. And you're a great example for the rest of the nation on educating America's youth. So I want to say thank you. And Ms. Bales, if we could, if I could get with you, I'm going to present this certificate to you, but I'd also like to give a coin of excellence to each of the board members and the administrators here tonight, please.
I love that.
Thank you. This isn't a purse, so if you guys come over here and be in the picture, that was a hint.
You usually don't give hints, you usually tell. chair. Okay, we'll move to discussion items, construction project updates. Dr. Cobb?
Thank you, Mr. President. To get started off here, we'll be at the IT building and storage. These first couple of pictures here are of the outside of the building. You can see that the brickwork is being done, along with all the windows and metal has been put on. This next picture is kind of before and after. As before, you can see where they got the brick down, and then you can see where they got the brick put back in, and all the windows installed in that same area. Moving in is the first picture. As you walk in there, you can see that's where the stairs will go down. So we'll get you to the downstairs area where the wellness center will be for the staff to be able to use, as well as that front entrance as you come into where the secretary's office will be. And then as you come in, you'll see downstairs, you can kind of see the big open area where a lot of the additional storage will be, trucks will be able to come into. That picture to the well, I guess to my right is what the wellness center will look like kind of from the outside. There is doing sheetrock this week, so it looks a little bit different already, but that's kind of an outside picture view in. Additionally, as you get the first picture is where the ITs were kind of, they'll have their areas set up to where they'll work on the Chromebooks, get them ready. There's a garage there where we can bring in load pallets with all the Chromebooks into them so they're able to work, as well as you can see they got the framing going on the upstairs area as well. Some additional pictures you got where the loading dock's going to be and an additional 2 garage doors down. They've, like I said, this week they've got a lot of sheetrock being put in and installed this week going out here. And additional, they're working on getting the parking lot just about ready at grade as well. Moving on to transportation, this would be the first addition on the side where kind of the main office area would be in the front entrance to the transportation. I kind of want to show this picture where you can see where the old metal's still sitting there is where we're waiting for electricity to come in. So once they kind of get that put installed, then we'll go back and put the additional new metal on there. On the other end is the 2 additional bays they've got added. They've got the garage doors in, sheet metal done, guttering being put in. This other picture you can kind of see where they've got ductwork in there laid out, ready to go to be installed. So they're moving quite well on that as well. Jumping to the WCC as you walk in, that first picture there is kind of as you're inside the lobby area, inside the actual office area. I mean, kind of where the 2 secretaries' office is going to be. And the second picture, if you kind of remember from kind of when you first walk in the main big area, that's what it used to look like. So we're kind of tying in the additional paint color that's there. So that kind of gives you an idea what it used to look on one side, and they kind of shut the door off, and then they're kind of coming around the front office area there. And then additionally is looking down the hallway. I didn't get as many pictures. Paint was wet when I was there that day, so I didn't want to be in their way. But you can kind of see, looking down, that first picture is looking down the office where you can kind of see where the secretaries sit. And then this right here will be a glass wall that comes around there is where a meeting area is at. I believe that is it. If you have any questions.
Any comments or questions? Thank you, Dr. Cobb. Gifted program update, Dr. Washington.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the pleasure of doing a board update on our gifted program. I can figure the clicker out on my screen. We have core beliefs for our gifted program, and I won't read through them there for you guys, but they have a right to a rigorous academic curriculum, and also we work on social emotional support and encouragement to nurture giftedness. Some of our other core beliefs, we really explore the intellectual and creative abilities with our students in the gifted program, and we try to provide real-world opportunities for them to make a difference. We have goals for our program that we work on. We really want to have that positive learning environment that embraces diversity and looks at innovation, and a safe, caring environment for students to learn and grow. But also we want to foster that critical thinking and that creativity that we see with our students in the gifted program, and build our parent and community involvement into our program. There's 4 performance standards that we have all of our curriculum set around: critical thinking, research, communication, and effective. Those are the core areas that everything that we work on in our gifted program, that's our foundation. There's criteria that the state puts forth that students have to meet in order to qualify. And to be as inclusive as possible, we have the minimum standard for the general mental ability with an IQ score of 124 or higher. And then we also look at other areas such as academic ability and then creativity, reasoning, and problem solving. And then we look at performance and see how they've done and what they're like in the classroom. And then we always have alternate criterion that we can look at if we feel like a student truly would benefit from being in the gifted program. We are very excited that our program continues to grow, and I thank the work of our gifted teachers who are here tonight, and I thank them for being here. They've really worked with teachers and staff to identify those gifted characteristics that we see, and they've done a great job with referrals. We're doing even more mass screenings at different grade levels, and as you can see, for our kindergarten through sixth grade, from 2020, we had a total of 147 students in our program, and for 2022, we had 189 students. So you can really see the growth with several grade levels with our gifted program. Also, we've had great growth at the secondary level. We've done a great job, teachers, staff, and our LEAP teachers with identifying those students, and we've grown from 67 in 2020 to almost 100 students for 2022. With our sites and scheduling, we have a gifted center that's housed at the middle school that our students are bused to, and Vicki Thomas oversees kindergarten through second grade, and then Christina Wallace, we're happy to have her on board. She will service our third and fourth graders. Tiffany Rogers will service our 5th and 6th graders, and then Anita Humphrey will have our 7th through 12th graders. So there is a description of what those courses look like at each level. I just always love to share some pictures of the great things going on in our gifted classrooms, and these are some pictures of our kindergarten through second graders. We ended the year with 51 students, K through second, and some of the activities and things that they did, such as going to the Discovery Center, really focusing on some of our curriculum pieces. For our third and fourth grade LEAP students, we ended with 60 of them, and they really worked on biology and algebra. They had several great field trips to the Discovery Center, George Washington Carver Museum, and then there are some collaborative pictures that we took as well. 5th and 6th, we had some great activities with them, and also they worked with our younger students to develop those leadership skills and talk about challenges that they may be having. So that was great interaction with peers. And then our middle schoolers, we service 46, and they were very active and really loved forensic science. So we really explored that area, including a field trip to our advanced forensic training lab here on Fort Leonard Wood, and really got to explore all aspects of forensic science. So that was a big hit with our middle schoolers. And at high school, we had ended the year with 53, and they really focused on different classes and curriculum, as well as ACT preparation, and then they did some independent interest studies. Parent community involvement, as you can see, we always try to bring in guest speakers and parents to talk to our LEAP students and our families about different topics and subjects, so you guys can see those listed there. Some more of our community involvement here with pictures, giving back to the community. They had some field trips and distributed gifts to residents. And just a few of our LEAP celebrations, we piloted social emotional lessons with a licensed clinical social worker who really worked on the needs of social skills of our gifted learners and how to help them have positive peer interactions. And then we are very, very grateful. At the beginning of 21-22 school year, we opened our new gifted center at Waynesville Middle School. So thank you, school board and administrators, for supporting this dream. If you haven't been to the gifted center, I encourage you to come by and see us. The LEAP teachers will be glad to have you and show you our amazing space. And then we had a video, and I'll email it out to the school board. It was too large to attach, but we had some great words from our gifted that they wanted to share with how LEAP helps them to be a leader and how it's their safe haven. Any questions for me?
Got one, Dr. Washington.
Yes.
In the presentation, there's been considerable growth in the numbers of students that are enrolled in the LEAP program, and you'd alluded that a lot of it was attributed to teachers recognizing the potential in the students. With that being said, is there capacity for more growth to add additional students to that program, or is there a kind of a cap that?
Yeah, we do have a cap at 15 students per class, but I am happy to say we were able to move all of our students off of our waiting list. We have more flexibility with scheduling at the secondary level, which we did that, and then all of our elementary students we were able to put in classes. So yes, we still have capacity.
Good. And then if you know, using the criteria there, if parents have interest and think that their child may be
7th and 8th grade ELA, health and physical education, specifically the fitness and conditioning class.
Any comments or questions? Okay, we'll move to action items. 2022-2023 tax rate ceiling increase. Mr. Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I mentioned earlier in the beginning of the meeting, we have two action items here related to the tax rate. So the first one is for the tax rate ceiling increase. So administration requests a motion to adopt the attached resolution to set the tax rate ceiling at 2.924 for the 2022-2023 tax year.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Ponder makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Harn made the second. All in favor, show of hands. 6-0 motion carries. 22-23 tax rate, Mr. Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. President. Secondly, we're looking for a motion to approve the tax rate levy of 2.924 per each $100 of assessed valuation for the FY23 budget.
Do I have a motion?
I make that motion, Mr. President.
Mr. Quinn makes a motion.
Second.
Mr. Ponder second. All in favor, show of hands. 6-0 motion carries. Proposed job description, second reading. Dr. Goforth.
Thank you, Mr. President. The following job description is presented for second reading. 2.18.3, Assistant Director, District Mission Activities. Administration requests approval at this time.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Harns made the motion. Ms. Rouse second. All in favor, show of hands. 7-0 motion carries. 6-0, sorry. 2022-2023 tuition rate, Mr. Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. President. Each year we go through at the end of each financial year and determine what our per pupil expenditure was based on average daily attendance. And so for the most recent year, that was around $10,397. So we are looking for a motion to approve the 2022-2003 school year tuition rate at $10,400.
Okay, any comments or questions? Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion, Mr. President.
Ponder makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
During second, all in favor, show of hands. All right, 6-0 motion carries. Staffing plan revision, Dr. Goforth.
Thank you, Mr. President. Administration requests approval of the 22-23 staffing plan as presented and waives first reading. The district had a student move in that requires an additional paraprofessional.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Harns motion, Rouse second, all in favor, show of hands. 6-0 motion carries. Curriculum, Dr. Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. The attached document outlines the equity and inclusion lessons that will be utilized with students during the upcoming school year. The lessons are from the Leader in Me curriculum and were selected by members of building level diversity teams. Due to copyrights, we are not able to provide links to the lesson documents. Patrons who wish to review the lesson materials may arrange a time through Dr. Washington in the Special Services Office. Administration recommends approval of the curriculum documents as presented.
Any comments or questions? Do I have a motion?
Make that motion, Mr. President.
Quinn makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Rouse second, all in favor, show of hands. 6-0 motion carries. District surplus, Dr. Cobb.
Thank you, Mr. President. Administration motion is asked for motion to declare excess items and equipment as surplus property as attached.
Any questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Ponder makes a motion, have a second. Gary, second. All in favor, show of hands. Motion carries. Special Education Local Compliance Plan, Dr. Washington.
Thank you, Mr. President. Attached is a special ed local compliance plan, and it's presented for board review and approval. It follows the state compliance plan that DESE puts out in order to keep us in compliance.
Comments or questions? Do I have a motion? Motion. Gary makes a motion.
Second.
Mr. Rouse, second. All in favor, show of hands. Motion carries. We've already been in closed session tonight, so I have a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President, I make that motion to adjourn tonight.
Mr. Quinn makes a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
You usually don't have a partner, see, this is all paired. Ms. Rouse, second. All in favor, show of hands. Motion carries. Good night.
See down the